many of you will be back to visit Harwich again in the future. And we were telling you a little bit about the LV-18, the pirate ship, as we call it, that we used for our pirate BBC Essex broadcast, recreating the official, original offshore pirate radio of the 60s. We're going to talk more about that when we get to Frinton a little later this afternoon. Isn't it lovely? People are waving and taking pictures of the bus as we go by. The LV-18 did suffer a nasty fire last year, beginning part of the year, when an arsonist who was caught and did serve some time in prison set fire to the LV-18 and did damage a lot of the very historic vessel. But the team there have done a lot to put her back together again. She is the last manned light vessel, so a real piece of maritime history. And talking of history, just on your left now, as we start to leave Harwich, you'll see a high lighthouse. The High Lighthouse. And the High Lighthouse is the official end of the Essex Way footpath. You might see a black and white flag on the bottom of it. The 81-mile walk from Epping. The High Lighthouse marks the official end of that 81-mile footpath. And the reason why it's called the High Lighthouse is there was also a low lighthouse, which you might have seen Steve pointed out. And in the old days, vessels could line up the two lights and they would know where they are. And more about that kind of lighthouse when we get to our next port of call, which is Dovercourt, Steve.
Yes, we're just passing between Harwich and Dovercourt, past the old redoubt fort from Napoleonic times, and more recent World War II fort, which is right on the point of the coast where Harwich and Dovercourt merge. And that's now been restored and has a heritage status, and you can go and see the old World War II fort, which still has the gun placements and the concrete structures to keep the forces safe whilst they were guarding the Essex coast and, of course, the river up into Harwich and beyond into Ipswich. So now we've officially crossed the line into Dovercourt. On Dovercourt town centre, we'll be turning left at the traffic lights ahead and going along the seafront. And of course, Dovercourt is a favourite of Ian and mine because it has a wonderful piece of recent history.
Yes, if you enjoyed the sitcom Hi-de-Hi, we shall be pointing out where Hi-de-Hi, when the holiday camp still existed, was based, the Warner's camp. It's now sadly no longer there as a holiday camp, but we will show you some of the last remaining remnants of that holiday camp that you might remember seeing on Hi-de-Hi. But as we just make our way into Dovercourt, into the town, this is, if you like, where the shops are. If you're in Harwich, there's more shops up at this end of the town. And as we head up to the sea, you'll see, looking at us, a statue of Queen Victoria. Now, it's quite unusual that Queen Victoria is looking at us. I was once told on my radio show that normally statues of Queen Victoria at the coast, she's looking out to sea. But for some unknown reason, in Dovercourt, she's looking inland. I'm not quite sure how rare it is or how many other statues at the coast of Queen Victoria this is the case, but I always remember being told that it is quite unusual to see Queen Victoria with her back to the sea, facing land.
I can remember working as a television repairman before my career with the BBC. And this was part of my service area, to fix people's television sets. And I'd often have my lunch at Dovercourt seafront. And the one thing you noticed about lunchtime at Dovercourt, as we get to the lower part of the seafront, you'll see the old lighthouse there that was pointed out in Harwich. You see it, especially from the upper deck, you can see the coast stretching out in front of you. Everybody from the Warner camp used to pop out at lunchtime and come into Dovercourt. And they used to have to head back in time for their lunch at the camp because that was, of course, free. So they'd come out in the morning, do a bit of shopping, do a bit of sightseeing, and then all wander back to the camp along this section of road, and you'd see literally hundreds of people walking back to the Warner camp in time for their lunch at 1 o'clock, which I always thought was quite an amusing sight.
Now these lighthouses that to your left, the cast iron towers of Dovercourt High and Low lighthouses, they were built in 1863, built as leading lights, guiding ships navigating the estuary of the river down to Harwich. The high lighthouse that we see is 45 feet high, that's the one that's closest to the promenade. It's hexagonal, has 6 cast iron legs. The low lighthouse is 27 feet high, octagonal, and mounted on 4 legs, as you can see. And it's about 180 metres out to sea past the high lighthouse. It's about 180 metres between the two. You can get to it at low water via a causeway, but of course when the two lights were aligned, the gas-powered lights guided vessels into the new Harwich Channel. That's how people could see where they were going, and it's visible for 11 miles out to sea, the high lighthouse.
So let's have some memories then of Heidi High and those people walking back along this seafront for their lunch, having escaped to the camp in the morning, not wanting to do the throwing in the swimming pool or the knobbly knees competition, who had the best legs, and the beauty competitions. Here's a little memory of Heidi High.
Well, we've just rung the bell so we can tell you a little bit more about the Warners camp that was on the left as we come up to these green trees. You might see, over as you look onto your left, a row of poplar trees, a big row of green poplar trees. And if you can see them in the distance, you can see that, yeah, there they are. They were still part of the Heidi High filming. They were part of the campsite, and they are still there today, but not much else, Steve, is left.
No, they were backing onto the Olympic-sized swimming pool that they always used to discuss, and as the bus now passes this road, this was the main entrance into the camp, which is now, of course, a housing estate. And again, you'll see the poplar trees behind that formed the border of the camp and where the pool was. Now, I think we've got a word or two from Gladys. You might remember this.
Hello, campers. Rise and shine. Well, it's a beautiful Muffins morning, and we've got lots of Muffins fun in store for you today. Breakfast will be served in half an hour.
I wonder why they wanted to escape the camp after breakfast. The lovely Gladys there. And this is how the series ended. final scenes from the series Heidi High, when they all sang Goodnight Campers in the Hawaiian ballroom, and Peggy finally got her yellow coat on the very last episode of Heidi High. Wonderful memories as we just drive past the site of the old Warner's camp.
And in fact, if you are a Peggy fan, Sue Pollard, who is just fantastic, I think. She's coming to Colchester in September with her one-woman show to the Mercury Theatre. I think she's doing other dates and venues around Essex as well, but I think that'd be the most local one to hear. And she's actually also, I think it's Saturday the 2nd of August from memory, that she's actually opening a fete at the care home in Great Hawksley, because one of our friends, Andrew Robley, and one of her friends, his mum is a resident now at Great Hawksley.
We're going to have a lovely ride through the countryside here. This particular road between Harwich and the tendering highlights of Clacton and Frinton and Walton is a beautiful road. I don't know if you've ever driven it, but the views from here are quite spectacular. So we'll have a little bit of music perhaps on the route, just to get you in the mood for getting towards our next stop, which will be Frinton on Sea.
Cut the bananas.
That's okay, go away.